I'm Joanna Small, the Public Information Officer for the Commerce City Police Department. It's Monday, October 27th, and these are your weekend high or low lights, depending on how you look at it. It's essentially our video blotter where we give you a rundown of the most significant incidents your CCPD patrol officers responded to over the weekend. But we always like to start these off with a few fast facts. We answered 310 calls for service, and our traffic team made 45 traffic stops just on Saturday and Sunday. Now here are those highlights in chronological order. Overnight Thursday into Friday, officers responded to the 7,000 block of Highway 2 after a bicycle collided with the rear of a van. The male on the bike then began threatening the occupants of the van with a machete, so the driver of the van drove to a business for safety. The bicyclist followed the van and continued the threats. He was still on scene when we arrived, and we took him into custody on felony menacing charges. On Friday, officers were sent to what was originally called in as a civil dispute in the 7400 block of East 80th Avenue, but they learned the suspect had threatened the victim with a bar from a heavy-duty jack. A witness observed the suspect raise the bar and hold it like a baseball bat 2 to 3 feet away from the victim. The suspect was taken into custody on felony menacing charges. Overnight Friday, officers were dispatched to the 9100 block of Uravan Court for a disturbance. Prior to arriving, we learned the suspect had a felony warrant for second-degree assault on a police officer and resisting arrest. Officers set up a perimeter at the location, but the suspect had fled prior to our arrival. We located him at a gas station a short time later and took him into custody on the warrants. That same shift of officers overnight Friday helped the Aurora Police Department and Safe Streets Task Force locate a homicide suspect from Aurora's jurisdiction in the 16,800 block of East 104th Avenue. Our officers conducted a high-risk traffic stop on the suspect and took her into custody without incident. She was turned over to the Aurora Police. Again overnight Friday, a proactive CCPD patrol officer located a vehicle that had previously eluded him. The officer put down a tire deflation device, and when the vehicle fled the scene, it ran over that device in the 7100 block of Highway 2. Officers later located the vehicle unoccupied at East 68th Way and Kearney Street. A check of it in law enforcement databases confirmed that the vehicle was in fact stolen. It was recovered and will be returned to its rightful owner. The search for a suspect is still ongoing. On Saturday, officers responded to a felony menacing that stemmed from a road rage incident at East 96th Avenue and Highway 2. One vehicle stopped in front of the other, and a male got out of the suspect vehicle and approached the victim vehicle. As the victim vehicle reversed and then drove around the suspect, a child inside the victim vehicle saw the suspect point a handgun at them. Unfortunately, officers were unable to locate that suspect vehicle. Overnight Saturday, an observant CCPD patrol officer spotted 2 individuals behind a business near East 104th and Bell Creek Boulevard attempting to open a window. The individuals were contacted, and one had a felony warrant for theft. He was taken into custody and jailed on his warrant. Also overnight Saturday, officers were sent to a break-in alarm and fire alarm at a school in the 5700 block of Quebec Street. When they arrived, they observed fire extinguisher fumes in the air and heard juveniles communicating on a school radio found on the scene. Officers were eventually able to make entry into the main school building, but the suspects had already fled. Surveillance footage obtained shows all of the suspects were wearing masks. On Sunday, officers responded to a holdup alarm in the 4900 block of Olive Street. They found the suspect trying to hide in between buildings, and he was arrested. He had various burglary tools, paraphernalia, and drugs on his person, as well as multiple warrants for his arrest. Again on Sunday, officers were called to an aggravated robbery in the 6200 block of Oneida Street. The victim met the suspect to sell a PlayStation. The suspect pointed a firearm at the victim, took his money, then took off in a vehicle. Detectives are currently looking into the case, as the victim has a good description of both the suspect and the suspect vehicle. Again on Sunday, officers were sent to Dick's Sporting Goods Park for a vehicle that crashed into a gate at the stadium. The driver was still on scene when officers arrived, and they determined he was intoxicated. The damage to the property at the stadium is tens of thousands of dollars. The driver was transported to the hospital, but does face various charges, to include DUI. And finally, overnight Sunday, officers responded to a burglary in the 6800 block of East 72nd Avenue. The reporting party said unknown suspects broke into the building, which is under construction, and caused damage inside. Officers cleared the building and didn't locate anyone, but did find plenty of damage, as well as property left likely behind by individuals who appeared to be squatting there. That's all for now. We'll see you next time. Have a safer week, Commerce City, and remember, if you need us, we are always just minutes away.